Welcome, 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 Sister Anne Marie. Thanks for joining. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you taking the time to connect on this evening because I know you have a lot of other things that you could be doing. So I do appreciate, and I promise I won't keep you too long. There'll be a little bit of suspense, but not for too long, I promise you. Welcome. Giving the others a little more time to connect. Awesome. Let's get you in the conversation. Thank you, sis. All right. So it's all about the opportunities for high school leavers, the panel reveal. And that's for the Serenity Resource Connector series that's coming up, going live this Thursday in August 26th at 3 p.m. But before we get there, so we're talking about the Serenity Resource Connector. And I got a call earlier asking, what is this resource connector? So let me start with the Serenity part. So Serenity, I've adopted as my brand, both my personal and professional brand. And everything I do hinges on that serenity component, peace of mind. So if I'm not at peace with it, it's a no. And that's part of my boundary setting mechanism as well. If it doesn't align with the Serenity brand, it's a definite no for me, because I believe that peace of mind is what is required, especially with all that we are faced with now, and in terms of what it is that I feel I've been called to do. As it relates to the resource connector, let me set a little background on that. So about late 2019, I was asked to coordinate one of 5 crime prevention projects in Clarendon. The areas were focused on entrepreneurship, youth advocacy, school reintegration, parenting, and youth mentorship. All of these programs would be for young people who are between the ages of, say, 14 to, I believe it's 25, 27, thereabout, for the parents. And so after much deliberation, I decided I would coordinate the youth mentorship project on a consultancy basis. But there were a lot of lessons that I learned along the way, because initially I wondered, how did I get involved in this youth mentorship? Because it was with a group of young people who were struggling with behavioral challenges. And I wondered, am I really equipped to be actually coordinating such a project? Until I got in and realized that the key part of pulling this project together, especially in the COVID environment that we operated in, hinged on networking and the different access to the resources in the parish. And thank God for the experiences. I had experience with the different agencies through the Clarendon Interagency Network and through the business community, through the Chamber of Commerce. And so I knew about that side. But as the project went along and I started engaging directly with the participants, who were teenagers and their parents, then my eyes were opened up to a whole other avenue of challenges and the gaps that existed between the agencies and these young people, their parents, and how they're able to access the different services. So the services are out there, the resources are out there, but there was some challenges there. I give you some specific examples. When the Own Your Own Device initiative came on stream, there were a number of the participants who would have qualified, but then because they were on path, but then there was a whole matter of the parents not having access to the school registration number. So it required going above and beyond what the project really entailed. So I was making calls to the different resource persons to find out how they could get access, because they were hearing one thing from the school and then something else from the regional office. And that's how a number of them were able to access the devices. Then, as we are drawing to a close with the projects now, we're doing a lot of collaboration, because that's what the projects hinge on, collaboration. So the youth mentorship would have participants from, say, the parenting group, because we have 17-year-old parents who would fall in that batch. And there's an entrepreneurship component to the parenting program. So when I checked for these two participants who were part of the mentorship program to see how they were doing with entrepreneurship, I understand they did not get into the program. Then my question was why? They did not have birth certificates, and so they could not access the program through HEART. And that tugged at me, because in my last report, I had written that the Clarendon Interagency Network would be a good vehicle for the continuity of the program. But then having the steering committee that comprised of the different agencies and realizing that they too had different challenges. Because when I engage with the different directors and the parish managers, I realized that most of their time was taken up with meetings as they try to navigate what's happening out there. And so handing these things over to them, it would mean that these young people would still be having that big gap in terms of actually connecting with the agencies. So it would not leave me. So I started trying to figure out how is it that I can use the resources that I have to actually create a solution to bridge this gap. And so that's how the resource connector came about. So it's basically a program under the Serenity brand, which is geared at strengthening the public education between the different agencies and service providers, and to improve basically the access to information that is out there, the access to the different resources, because we're not short on resources. It's just that a number of our average citizens just do not know how to navigate the space to access these resources, and because of the different red tapes that exist. So that's what the Serenity Resource Connector is all about, creating this space where they're able to access this information, and it will depend largely on each of you that are here and your network in terms of spreading the information. So it is a sponsorship-based program, and I am thankful for the businesses that have come on board so far. We have Stoplight Wholesale and Cousins Construction, who did not hesitate in coming on board to sponsor this program. And there's still room for more, because it has to be a sustainable venture so that I can be able to serve more people with the resources that we have. And technology has created that avenue where we can help to bridge that divide between the access to information, the average citizen. YouTube is basically free on the different platforms through, I think it's Digicel, and Flow offers this service free. So if we're able to get the link out there to get this information into the hands of the parents and these young people, that will be really helpful. Some other specifics. one of the young men in the program has very good potential. Their challenges in terms of the communication or the lack thereof between themselves and the parents. So he was asking what happens after the program. He wouldn't mind having a space where they can continue to share, because it helped him in terms of his whole behavior. Having a space where he could share and be listened to, heard, and offered solution as to how we could address different things. He's looking to go into entrepreneurship, which is one of my core passion. And so it ties in perfectly with the Serenity brand. Another young man, again, 17 years old, he knows of the different options. He wants to go on to do some additional CXC subjects, but he needs help, guidance in terms of which program really to access. And so that's where let's talk about opportunities for high school leavers. And I deliberately did not use high school graduates, because the reality is many of our young people did not graduate high school because of what's happening with the pandemic. They did not complete the high school system. So they're basically leaving. There are new programs that have come on stream through the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. A number of them are not yet aware of those programs, how to access them. And so that brings us to why we are here for the panel reveal. So for Thursday at 3 p.m., same medium, we'll be having a conversation with, if we're talking about education, of course, we must have the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, and the representative will be from Region 7, and focusing on the entities who are in Clarendon, because that's where I'm based in terms of my involvement currently. But just to let you know that the same services that exist in one parish is available in all the parishes. So whatever resource is provided, you can make the connection and access in your respective parish, whether you're in St. Catherine, Manchester, wherever you are. And even if you're outside of Jamaica, it's an avenue where you can start looking for similar resources in your country to see what exists in terms of what you can access. So the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, we'll be looking at this extended 2 years for the high school, what that will look like, how these young people will be able to access those services. And we cannot have discussion without Heart NSTA Trust Region 6, a very vibrant team. I'm sure I saw Zika Brown, and I'm sure Dr. Shimyu will be there. I remember last year, a little over a year ago, I asked a number of my colleagues, what do they consider are my strengths? And I remember Dr. Shimyu said, you're really good at helping people navigate uncharted waters. And I've held on to that, Doc. And that is what I'm seeking to do through this mission, to help these young people, their parents, to navigate these uncharted waters and to support the agencies in terms of strengthening the public information, access to public information. Right. So going down the line, we have Heart, and then we also have the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. You might ask, what does the Ministry of Labor and Social Security have to do with these young people? I mentioned earlier, a number of these young people that I've been working with were on PATH, but the PATH program ends at a particular point. I became aware of that when I was seeking to access some additional resources for them in terms of social worker visiting. Then I realized for those who exited the high school system, those would no longer fall under the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, but now handed over to the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, their social worker. So that's where the conversation came in. So the question now is, for these young people who are about to go into these other areas, what services are there to support them? know that they are no longer under the PATH system. What is it that they can access through the Ministry of Labor and Social Security to continue this support, to strengthen their quest for further education? Through the discussions and engaging with these different agencies, there was another link, a missing link rather, in terms of the access to the birth certificate in order to go into these other programs. And so the next entity will be the Registrar General's Department. Will be coming to shed some light on how these young people can go about accessing their birth certificate so that they can in turn access the services that are available out there, the different resources, because they need all of this. For those who are looking to go into business, they need that. These are some of the foundational things that they need. And that's really what Serenity Resource Connector is all about, connecting these young people, their parents, the average citizen with the resources that are available so that they can improve their access to the services that are available. And again, let me thank the entities that have so graciously accepted. I remember the first one I reached out to was like, oh, great, will really help with our public education. So I realized that I was on the right path. And so it's just a matter now of getting the continued support as we share to empower our young people. Because with all that's happening around us, we have to focus on how do we give these young people hope. If we're going to steer them away from a life of involvement in crime, other activities, we have to find meaningful ways to engage them, to let them know that their dreams can become a reality and their support for them in terms of accessing those services. And so the Serenity Resource Connector will be a series. So after this first week, the following week, we're going to be going into the different areas in terms of the different entities that are out there that's offering CSEC subjects and those who offer those pre-university programs, how they're able to access those. And then the following week, we're looking to go into the different funding options that are available for them to be able to access these ongoing learning. And of course, we're going to make the transition into the next aspect of the HEART program in terms of how can they earn while they learn. And that will see the transition into the economic aspect of the series, where we start looking at some specifics in terms of strengthening the economic resolve for our young people, showing them how it is that they are to start setting that foundation for their business, which is the core of the Serenity brand in terms of giving them that foundation to build on, to create sustainable businesses where they can build a legacy for themselves and their families. All right, so come Thursday, 3 p.m., same place, same connection. The Serenity Resource Connector goes live with Let's Talk opportunities for high school leavers. And for those who have the resources to support in terms of sponsorship, please reach out. Email serenityadvisor@gmail.com or WhatsApp 876-871-8960 for sponsorship information. Thank you so much in advance for that. And remember, even if you're not able to come on board as a sponsor, you can still be a part of this mission by sharing the links when they become available so that it reaches every home in your network. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. Yes, here's Zika Brown. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. All right. Sister Maglagan says some are not registered. Thank you, Sister Odette. Excellent information and initiative. Continue to keep it in your prayer and to share the information. All right. Shakira, Sister Trevina, Brother Carl, Mrs. Ferguson. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Dione, thank you. All right, so I have my brothers and my sisters. Thank you so much for the support. Really appreciate it. And I know that you will continue to keep this mission in your prayers and you'll continue to share as we seek to improve lives, to empower each other, not just the spiritual, but the physical aspect of our daily lives. So at this time, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to respond. Thank you, Carolyn. Carolyn is joining all the way. Oh, it's supposed to be morning there. She's in, where are you, Carolyn? Somewhere in Africa. Thanks for joining, Carolyn. Really appreciate you all. Awesome. Patricia Ray, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. Really appreciate you all. So just continue to spread the word and to whatever resources that you're aware of, because one of the things, I never ever claim to know it all. I'm always learning, and that's the beauty of what I do. There's always room to learn and to grow. And I always say, Uganda, Carolyn is from Uganda. Thank you, sis. Right, there's always room and opportunities to grow. And I always believe that there's at least one person in my network that knows someone that I do not know, have access to resources that I'm not aware of. And it's just about us having that conversation and pointing each other in the right direction. That's what we're here to do, to actually serve each other, to help to ensure that every other person gets the opportunity to grow personally, spiritually, and otherwise. Thank you so much for joining me, and looking forward to seeing you all and others on the live on Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Thank you, and have a blessed evening. Bless you. Thank you, Ms. Ferguson. Have a great one. Continue to stay safe. Thank you, Sister Shak. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Have a great one.